Hi, glad you could join us. I'm Annette Sherman. This is Community. It is the start. I was sitting here and thinking, talking to my guests, who I'll introduce to you in just a moment, how many years I've been in radio to begin with, and then television. And I think it's about 40 some odd years. So if you don't know me, that's okay, but you should. After all these years and also friends I've made, my husband once figured out how many guests I had had on my show. And in those years, I was on every day. So if you compound, let's say I have 3 guests now, but if you even 3, which was minimal in those years, I'd have 4 and 5 guests because it wasn't just a half hour, it was an hour in the beginning. At any rate, if you count up how many guests, there were thousands of guests on the show who look back and think, well, I don't know what they think. It was fun. I remember, well, I'm not going to tell you the story. I want to introduce my guests. I want to get to the subject of today's program. The subject of today's program will probably affect many of you. The subject of today's program is volunteerism. And we tried to get statistics on how many volunteers we have in our community. They're still working at the adding machines. I think we're talking about tens of thousands, maybe more. Let me introduce my guests, who in many ways are volunteers, in many ways are professionals, in many ways are budding professionals. Well, let me introduce them. Let's start with a man that I'm nuts about. And he is the artistic director of the Players. By the new name, it is called the Players Center for Performing Arts. As we speak, they are working on it and trying very hard to get it completed as soon as possible, because it's going to be one fabulous, fabulous, fabulous theater performing arts center. Yeah. And you'll love it. It's going to be up near the, well, why don't I just introduce Jeffrey Kinn, and he can help me with this.
I
Jeffrey,
can help you with that.
Yeah.
Hello, my dear.
Hello, sweetheart.
Yeah, so we are, of course, the area's community theater, and we are still at our same location on 41 and 9th Street, so that's still the same, but we are working on a new complex that will be at Fruitville and 75, hopefully in the next 3 to 5 years.
I didn't
so it's
tell
a little
them,
ways away, but we're working on it.
I didn't tell them why I adore you, not only because he's handsome, because he's extremely talented. There isn't anything in the theatrical profession, whether it's singing, dancing, writing, you name it, he can do expertly. And he has a marvelous, they call it sense of humor, but it isn't. Sense of humor is when you laugh at something funny and then you've got a sense of humor. But what Jeffrey has is wit. And the wit, to take something that's ordinary and make it silly or funny, is just a gift that he has.
Wow. Well, thank you.
Now,
that's
you're
very
welcome.
nice. That's
you're
very nice of
welcome.
you.
And the lovely young lady that's sitting next to him, her name is Olivia Yargi. Yagi. Yagi. Okay. That's a terrible name. I think you better change it when you move on to show business.
She's famous? Yes.
She's 14 years old, and she is a professional when it comes to several things. She is a professional volunteer. She is a professional performer. And she's a professional, adorable young 14-year-old who is just as sweet and just as pleasant and just as nice as she could be, unaffected by her fame, by the fact that people applaud and scream when she's on stage. And I just saw her recently in the
Will Rogers Follies.
Will Rogers Follies. And she right now she looks almost like a 14-year-old, maybe 16. But she was just adorable. The show, I don't know when when our program here airs, but I think it will be finished.
Just
in
closed,
Yeah,
yes.
it's be closed
Yes.
already. However, I'm sure you'll be able to see Olivia in many shows, because not only is she a performer excellence, but she is also a volunteer. And the volunteer, I have a feeling, gives you almost as much satisfaction as being on stage.
It does.
Yeah, it does. Then we have the famous, the infamous, the wonderful Mel Ott. Now, the people out there are saying, gee, I thought he died. Well, what we have reincarnated him for the program and to be a volunteer at the Players of Sarasota, the players that exist now that still are in the same place they've been in for almost 100 years.
Seems like it. Yes.
Same place.
Yes.
It really looks much renewed.
Well, that building was built in 1972, so it's just reaching that point where it would take more to revamp it and update it than it would be to just sell that property and kind of move on.
Are you listening out there?
Yeah.
That property is for sale. It's
It
a
is.
marvelous location.
It's a great location, but there's just not enough. That building and our parking doesn't fit with the times as they are now.
But
so-
you're all set, and you've got
Yes.
the location, and people are donating money. We'd like you to donate some more money.
Oh, yes.
And if you have a lot of money, you can donate a lot of money to the new, and I want to make sure I get it, the new Players Center for Performing Arts, which will be marvelous.
It will
and,
be.
And okay, Mel Ott. We didn't say what Mel does.
Oh.
Mel is a volunteer.
Yes.
And of course, with that name, people come up and say, oh my goodness, I watched you play ball for years. And he says, yes, I was pretty darn good, wasn't I?
Absolutely, absolutely. I offer to give them an autograph if they'd like to get an autograph, and they have to bring in the ball, though. I don't provide the ball. And I'd be more than happy to do that. Then I'm famous because when I used to hit the ball, 435 home runs, by the way.
Wow.
I would step my right foot into the bucket. They called Mel Ott puts his foot in the bucket and hits home runs.
Wow.
That's absolutely right.
But
So
people-
you're the namesake though. You're not.
Yeah, I'm
really-
not him.
Yeah, he's kind of dead.
He's a
little dead.
He's a little dead.
Yeah,
Mel
well,
Ott,
but
yeah.
some people don't know. No, I didn't know. I had to ask.
Right.
So-
then they ask him that 3 or 4 times a week at the box office. We hear it over and over again. Yes, but that's the price for fame.
Okay, let's talk about, I tried to get some statistics from the library and places where statistics may be found. They couldn't give me a total number, but we figured it's what?
Well, we have at least 700 volunteers
At
a
the
year
Players.
at the Players alone.
What do you use as that many volunteers?
Well,
for?
ushers. Just think about when you go to the theater, you need someone to open that door and take your ticket, and you need help buying the ticket. And then when you walk into the theater, you need someone to help you find your seat.
Yeah.
When you're sitting in the audience, you are looking at costumes that need to be sewn. You're looking at sets that need to be
They're
painted.
volunteers, the actors.
The actors on the stage are volunteers. You can see the volunteers because there's lighting people. Olivia has been a light person, a spotlight operator.
When she's not on
When
stage.
she's not on stage. She doesn't. We haven't made her do both at the same time yet, but maybe that's next. But almost at the Players, almost 95% of the people that you run into are all volunteers, and they're doing it for the love of live theater, and we're so fortunate because of them. So we actually have this, what we call Spotlight Awards, and these two are actually winners of Spotlight Awards.
Okay, we've got some pictures.
Oh, we do?
Let's get some pictures
Yeah.
shown, because if we don't, we're going to be just chatting and talking, and I want to, Olivia, I'm going to ask to sing a
Oh, yeah.
song. Now, you should never ask anyone to sing in the morning.
But she's a kid, so
Yeah,
kids
but-
are resilient.
Yeah, but even as a kid, Jeffrey, it's taken advantage. But however, it isn't like that. It's just that I asked her, or I asked Jeffrey if she would, and he said he'd speak to her. He did speak to her, and she said, guess what?
Yeah.
She didn't say guess what. She said, yes.
She's a trooper. That's
She's
what we call them, right?
She's a trooper.
She's a
that's right.
trooper.
And she brought along your little smartphone
Yes.
that you have recorded some
Right.
music on. And when the time comes, we're just a little smidgen of something so that you can get an idea, okay?
Love it.
Okay.
So
the pictures, let's see the pictures and then we'll find out about
okay,
your
perfect.
background.
So what we do at the theater for our volunteers, we don't do like best actress or best actor, or we don't want people to be vying for awards. We want to make sure that we spotlight the people. So we call it our Spotlight Awards. And there's Olivia, and that's Michelle Bianchi. She is our managing director. So this is actually at the awards ceremony when she was nominated and won our Spotlight Student of the Year. So that's Olivia looking great. See, she's cute. And then our next one that's Donna DeFont. She won our Spotlight Board Member of the Year. So she's now the president of our board. She does more work for us. She is incredible and amazing. And she also works with other organizations. So she does more than just work with us. She's quite wonderful. And then let's see. That's Liz Trostley. She won our Spotlight Award as a volunteer because she manages our art gallery. So she helps us make sure that every show that we have has beautiful art
lovely picture
on our walls. Well, she was shocked and amazed. I mean, she was really surprised. Her husband, Bill, works for us day in and day out as a set builder. And he said that it saved their marriage. So that's the good thing. That's why she's so happy. They're happy because they were able to keep their marriage going and keep busy in retirement. And Mel was mentioning that. The picture that we don't, that's Patty Campbell. She was our staff member volunteer of the year. And so we want to always make sure that we highlight staff, even though yes, we are stipend and we are paid. They really do quite wonderful work and do more than we ever asked them to do.
I also want to point out that Michelle Pingle,
Yes.
who is
Bianchi. Bianchi. We dropped the Pingle.
Oh, we dropped the Pingle. Bianchi.
She's Pingle free now. She's back to her maiden name.
She's so happy to be Pingle free.
She's a Bianchi.
But she is, and she is a very integral part. She's not a volunteer, but she is a special part, even as Jeffrey is, significant part of the players, and a lovely, lovely person. Very smart, very capable, and very easy to work with.
And we could not survive
without her.
She has so much tenaciousness, and she is always on point, and she knows what she's doing. So we really do, I feel like, make a pretty good team. I try to make sure I stay on the creative side, and then she really stays on the business side. So it's a good team.
Well, between the two of you, there's a tremendous, not just that you have jobs to do, a love of the players, a love of what you're doing, and it doesn't matter how much time it takes, because I don't think you punch a time clock.
You can't. If you did, you would get really depressed, I think, because of how much time you don't spend at your house, or how much you don't spend. And we were talking about it earlier. We know that there are people in our community that probably have the time to devote to an organization, but they don't. So one of the things we would love to be able to do with your program is to invite volunteers and invite people. If you have spare time, if you like to paint or sew or just be nice to people, there's our organization, and then of course hundreds of other organizations that all survive on
I want to put the numbers on the
volunteerism.
screen.
Yeah.
Would you please put I know we have one more picture, but let's just move along quickly now. Let's see that picture.
Yeah,
as long as it's
I'm
up.
sorry. I was talking and I got sidetracked.
Well, they may have taken it down while we were talking.
Oh shoot!
Okay,
I'm not perfect. Oh my
okay.
gosh.
Maybe they can put it back up.
Well,
before
I didn't get a picture of Bella, and Bella is our amazing usher of the year, and she does our 50-50 for us, and she's quite spectacular. So
okay, well, maybe we can get Bella's picture. There's the number to call.
Yes, that's us.
All right, now let me make this clear. There's not going to be any severe testing. If you want to volunteer, and if you are a person who can be depended upon, if you are a person who loves theater, who likes theater, you'll get to love it, and wants to be there, because you also have the kind of invitation with it, with the volunteering, to try out, to audition for the shows.
Yeah.
So that gives you kind of a leg up with that, what's happening, when it's happening, and whether there's something in it that you could do on stage. Well, Olivia is the same kind of person. When she's not on stage, you're back doing all these volunteer work and learning about how to do them. So, and Mel, do you go backstage and do anything, or you just...
I'm tied to the box office.
They've got it, and I see the marks on your ankle.
Yes.
It really is sad.
Absolutely.
Chain him right to
I
it.
get chained
How-
when I walk in the door.
However, it looks good on you, and
Keeps
I'll
me
tell you
young.
something, I'm glad you're there.
It's an
Okay,
interesting story of how he got into volunteering at our theater.
I wish we had time,
Oh.
because I'm going to ask,
Oh.
Olivia just a little bit of the song that you have with you, and we'll break the conversation with some music, okay?
So this is a song, right, from Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Yes.
It's the opening, and you're the narrator, right?
Yes.
Okay, how did I do? Good?
That was
Okay,
good.
now you take your time and you do your thing, okay?
Just a little bit of it, sweetheart, and I'll
Okay.
sort of cut you off, okay?
Some folks dream of the wonders they'll do before their time on this planet is through. Some just don't have anything planned. They hide their hopes and their heads in the sand. I don't say who is wrong, who is right, but if by chance you are here for the night, then all I need is an hour or two to tell the tale of a dreamer like you. And it goes on.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
I
sweetheart.
was so involved with the song. That's lovely. And you know something? I'm looking at Olivia, and she is 14, okay? She's not wearing a stitch of makeup, and I can see that young woman in there growing up to 18, and all the things that she's learned in between. And I hope that your desire is to become a professional actress, because you really are wonderful on stage, and you're wonderful here with us.
Thank you.
Is it your desire?
It's one of them. It's definitely an option for me. I really do love performing.
Okay, you didn't know this, but I'm a fairy godmother, and I can make your wishes come true. Where would you like to be, and what would you like to be doing 10 years from now? You'll be 24, you'll be old. 24 years old, where would you like to be? What would you like to be doing?
I would definitely still like to be performing. I definitely enjoy it. I don't know exactly where I would be, but I want to keep myself surrounded with the same people.
Well,
I
where would
am.
you like to be? New York, California?
Oh gosh, probably New York. I've always wanted to be on Broadway, and that's just been a huge
Okay.
dream.
Okay, so on Broadway, with a leading role in a musical?
Eventually, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Leads are no fun. It's better to be the secondary characters, right?
It
I
really
want to
is.
remind you that they need volunteers at the Players, and it's the whole bag of tricks that not only will you volunteer, but you can be there when the auditions happen, and they've got auditions in November.
Yes.
What are the plays?
November 11th, we have auditions for Bullets Over Broadway, which is our February show, Singin' in the Rain, which is our January show, and then Funny Girl, which is our March show. So 3
Wonderful shows.
big, wonderful shows.
Okay, so there are probably parts in those shows, but the fact is that if you love to volunteer and you want to volunteer, they want to meet you. So please call. Let's put that on the screen, please, Damon. The number to call and the
Webpage.
website.
Yeah,
Couldn't
website.
think of the phrase website.
Yeah, you're
website.
good.
And there it is, the number to call and the website. And the best idea is, rather than call, because you probably get Mel, who's at the box office, and he's delightful and he will help you. And you say, "Hi, Mel, saw you on television. Not bad looking." I mean,
He looks good on
but you're a
film.
better ball player.
Thank you.
At any rate, you get Mel, and he'll help you. And he's perfectly willing to do that, and tell you about being a volunteer, and that's important. You will love it if you have free time, and if you are retired, or if you're not retired and you have free time, because Olivia is far from retired, but she has some free time between school and what she does and playing in the shows, apparently. So she uses that free time to volunteer and to perform on stage. Maybe you can do exactly the same thing. I think that would be fun.
That would be fun.
Okay. If you come and volunteer, if they're filled up with volunteers and have enough, come and volunteer with us for this television program, and we would like to meet you and find out if that's something you would like to do. So that's also open to you, to volunteers in this community. Now, the most important thing, or not important, the most memorable in the years that you've been working at the Players, and people come up and say, "Oh, Mel Ott, oh my goodness, Joe, Sam, come over and meet Mel Ott." Yeah, and then you say, "Yeah, hi," modestly.
Well, actually, how I got into volunteering was my wife and I went in to buy a subscription to the shows at the Players. And the manager at that time, his name was Les, I can't remember his last name, came out and sat with us in the lobby. And when it was all done buying the subscription, he said, "Why don't you volunteer?" And he gave me an application, and I thought, well, what am I doing? I'm retired, nothing to do and all day to get it done, and so why not go out and actually volunteer at the Players? And I've been doing it now since early 2000. I think I started in 2005.
Wow.
So I've been there for 12 years now.
At what time do you report?
I
And not every day.
2 days a week.
Uh-huh.
I report at 9 and I leave at 3.
Okay, so this is a very, very important piece of information, that you don't have to volunteer every day. You can come in 2 days and make those kind of fun days. And for how many hours are those 2 days?
6 hours a day.
6 hours
each
a
time.
day. Okay, 6 hours probably goes very fast. You've got people coming in, people calling up, and there's a lot of excitement going on. So give it a try. See if you like it. If you don't like it, then you don't like it. But I would call the numbers on your screen, and they're going to be put back on your screen, and all the website. And I started to say before, better than calling the number on your screen, because that is when they're there. The website is 24 hours a day. So if you're the type of person who gets up at 3 o'clock in the morning and doesn't know what to do, you can get the website and go follow through on that. What are the jobs that are open now?
Listen, really, the shows are what gets the most attention. So when we're doing a musical and all the people on stage and the crew backstage and the building of the great big sets, and that gets a lot of attention. But what doesn't get a lot of attention sometimes are the very simple things that people don't do anymore. Like, for example, sewing. Not a lot of people sew anymore, and that's what we need, stitchers. Sometimes we just need people to come in and help us do laundry. So some of these things that we need, they're not glamorous jobs at all. Sometimes it's literally cleaning the theater. When we had the Hurricane Irma come through, we literally lost a piece of our set and our stage, and volunteers from Venice and from Venice Theater came up to help us. So, the jobs sometimes aren't the ones that you would normally think of when you look at a stage.
However, try them out.
Yeah.
And see if they do fit.
Yeah.
Because you never know. You may say, "I didn't know that I could sew," but
Right.
they taught me how to do it back there, and that was kind of fun. I didn't know about makeup, but they
Right.
taught me about
That's
that. I
right.
didn't know about the lighting, but you will learn a lot. And I see a head shaking here, and that's the beautiful head of Olivia, and she's learned all those things and becomes more knowledgeable
Yeah.
because of it. So call or check the website. November, when are the auditions?
November 11th are the auditions.
November 11th. Now, they used to be able to come in with just singing happy birthday.
It would be you can actually. We've had people come in and sing happy birthday and they've been wonderful. We usually like someone to come in though with a little bit of music, 16, 20 bars, nothing major, and then a little bit of a monologue. We would like to hear something that's a little memorized. So especially if you're new to us, we do need to kind of get to know you. And it's the same process. For example, if you want to come in and help us tear down a set, we want to know, well, can you use a hammer or can you use a screw gun? And how adept are you at certain things? So we will also help match you on stage and off to a job that needs to be done.
But you have to contact first.
That's right. You do have to step up and,
You have to step
and
up
let us
and
know.
say, "I am interested." and I want to know what's happening and what's there. I'd also like to try out for Fiddler on the Roof, or I'd like to try out
Right.
for whatever the other shows are. However, I think that it's getting to know you. Maybe we all going to go out singing a refrain from Getting to Know You.
Getting to know all about you, right?
Getting to like you, getting to hope you like me.
Yes, exactly right. And you kind of end up with this nice family. I mean, we can be often that great family or that great camaraderie that you're missing. And if you're sitting at home flipping channels in your life, you feel like something's missing, maybe volunteering with an organization that you love is the answer.
You don't remember, how many years have you been with the Players?
I've been with them for 10 years.
10 years. Around 10 years ago or more, there used to be a lot of marriages.
Oh, yes. People
that
do.
volunteers meet, that I don't know, well, you're 14, so you're not married,
Yeah.
I hope. Anyway,
Yes.
Mel, you married?
Yes, I am.
Well, you're not a candidate.
But it is interesting that you do tend to find people that have likes the same likes or the same interests.
And you're with them.
And you're with them.
Yeah,
and you
working
see them
with them.
And you see them in good times,
Yeah.
and you see them at the bad times.
But I
So,
think that's
yeah.
a wonderful way to meet people.
It is.
And that's important. Now, it may not be people that you want to marry, you may already be married, but it's people that you may become very close friends with.
Right.
Because you share a similar interest, and that is theater.
Yeah.
And you love doing it. Now, I also, while I'm talking to people, if there's an overflow, if you call the theater and they say, we have all the volunteers we need.
Which will never happen.
Then call me, because we still need a few more volunteers. Okay, very important. But what is important in our community is the wonderful love of theater that exists here. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the Olivias, and we wouldn't have the Mels, we wouldn't have the wonderful.
We wouldn't have me. I mean, I could not do my job. The Players could not fulfill its mission without volunteers and volunteerism and people caring. And there are, I like to call them the 3 T's of volunteerism: time, treasure, and talent.
Okay,
so
we have to leave.
We love that.
We have to say goodbye
We
at
do?
this point.
Oh.
Yes, we do. It went very quickly.
Gosh.
Mel, you're wonderful. Keep on keeping on.
Thank you.
Beautiful young Olivia, keep on keeping on, sweetheart, because you're very talented, and you're
Thank
very
you.
pleasant, and you're wonderful. You, I love. Come back whenever you want to.
Would love it.
He opens, Players is the first show of the season and the last show of the season. That's a tradition. And the tradition is, I love you.
Love you right back.
We'll see you next week. Thank you for being with us. You were wonderful. Bye-bye for now.
The time really flew. We bid you adieu from community. If you want to know why we love it here, so check out Community. Well, it's a who's who, a what's, when, and where show. It's a mover and shakers who care show. Meet your neighbors and friends, each one has a passion. The topics vary from nature to fashion. The host with the most on our